Hey, welcome back to this instructional little series about doing the TA process. Today's video is going to be about the empadronamiento. Empadronamiento is essentially like a census form that allows you to declare residency at an address. So in order to get empadronamiento, you need to have already had an apartment. There's a little bit of a gray area about empadronamiento because depending on who you talk to, they will either tell you that it's not required for first years or that you should have it anyway. It's just highly recommended that if you have an apartment, you might as well just register as padrón at that place, as it's a really important document for you to have as a resident in Spain, regardless if you're just going to be here for 1 year or more. Do keep in mind while you're doing your housing search that you will need to declare your padrón status. This is more of a housing chat, really, but there are some landlords that really don't want you to declare padrón at their address. In that case, it's a little bit of a red flag. So try to pre-screen your landlords and tell them that you plan on being padrón so that you can have their full compliance. Becoming padrón includes filling out a form and also making an appointment. So we're going to go through the process of both of those things today. This is the hoja padronal. This is specifically for Madrid. So if you don't live in Madrid, you can still watch the video and use it as a foundation for when you declare padrón in your specific region, but do know that all of my resources are going to be specifically for people in Madrid. This is not the form that you bring to the TA. The form that you bring to the TA is going to be called an volante de empadronamiento. In order to get the volante de empadronamiento, which is the declaration of your padrón status, you will have to submit this form along with some kind of documentation that shows that you're living somewhere at the padrón appointment. So yeah, let's go through this. Our friendly little new auxiliar, first name, last name, he is going to be the model for all of our forms. First name, last name, lives in a lovely flat on Calle del Corazón de María 41 in the Prosperidad neighborhood of Madrid Centro. So our apartment is on Calle del Corazón de María, number 41. Portal, there's no portal that we have. Escalera, we don't have any specific escalera. We're on floor number 3, and the door to our apartment is derecha. Do we have a teléfono fijo? Maybe. If you do have a fixed telephone number, it's like a home telephone number, your landlord will tell you. Número de personas inscritas en esta hoja. So this is the number of people that are going to be registering to live at this address. If you have roommates, for example, you can all register for empadronamiento at the same time. As long as you're living in the same domicile, you can do it together. In this case, first name, last name lives by himself or is the only one declaring padrón at his apartment. So he will be the only one on this form. Moving on, we're going to go to this first section over here on the left side of the page. His name is first name, last name. First name, last name is a man, so we're going to put in hombre. For fecha de nacimiento, that's your date of birth. Remember to put it in the format of day, month, year, year. For the country that you were born in, first name, last name, and I presume a lot of people watching this video are going to be United States citizens. So in this case, we're going to write Estados Unidos. And of course, if you were born somewhere else, write that there. Municipio y provincia de nacimiento. In the case of Estados Unidos, we would write our city and our state. And for país de nacionalidad, first name, last name is going to be Estado Unidense. Moving on, let's go to the second section here. Tipo de documento de identidad. So the type of document of identity that you're going to be bringing in, depending on what you have, as you might not have a NIE yet. Our good friend, first name, last name, has a NIE. This is for additional documentation as well. So if we wanted to do passport and NIE, then we do both. Nivel de estudios terminados. This is the level of studies that you've completed. Most, I think all auxiliares are required to have completed their bachelor's degree, at least to take part in the program. So if you've completed your bachelor's degree, you're going to write 46. If you have another finished level of studies, all you have to do is go down to the instructions page. On the second page, go down to Códigos de Nivel de Estudios Terminados and find the one that applies to you.
Before we move on to the next section, note this section here that says T residencia with a T, a P, and a C. That's the tipo de residencia, or your type of residence. When I first filled out the hoja padronal, I did not put anything in this section. I also confirmed with someone who filled out the hoja padronal this year in 2022, who also did not fill out that section, and they were not asked to fill out that section at their appointment. So if you are a first-time applicant, do not worry about the tipo de residencia. That can be left blank for now.
In the next box, you're going to check traslado residencia. If you're from the United States, the provincia or consulado de procedencia is going to be your state that you lived in, and the municipio or país de procedencia, the preceding country, is of course going to be Estados Unidos. Wonderful. Once that has all been done, we're going to move on to the next section, the firmas. We're going to put in our telephone. If you do not have a Spanish telephone number, just remember to write your country code, which for the US is +1. In this case, first name, last name has one, so he will put his 9-digit telephone and also his email. Finally, he's going to sign, give his signature at the firma section, and that part of the form is done. If he wanted to fill in any other things for his roommates, or if, for example, if you have a partner that is also going to be living with you, you can all do it as stated before at the same time. Just make sure to change this number here, the number of written in persons on the form. We have a lot of different little sections around here, but let's go over it. One of the requirements for the empadronamiento is that you get a signature. There are 2 separate signature boxes that you can use. This first one here is autorización de empadronamiento, where it says Mr. or Mrs. blank with identity number blank and living in blank with accredited documents for ownership of the living space, authorizes these persons indicated in this document to inscribe themselves in the same domicilio where authorizer lives, or to live in domicilio where they do not live. So in any case, your landlord can sign. The other option, if you live with someone who does not have ownership of the living space, but they are still empadronada, they can sign in this section here. There are various forms of instruction about the empadronamiento online. In this case, if they don't have accrediting documentation, they will need to go to the appointment with you at the registrar's office to confirm that you live with them and everything goes swimmingly. This section here has to do with the documentation that you will be bringing to the empadronamiento appointment. First of all, you'll obviously be bringing a documento de identidad. And in the documentación presentada, documento acreditativo uso de la vivienda. If you have a rental contract, you will say contrato de alquiler. Remember that any rental contract that you use for the empadronamiento has to be at least 6 months long. You can also provide facturas de consumos, utility bills. You don't have to bring both. Usually just the contract of rent will suffice. Everything else on this form is for official use only, so you don't need to worry about it. It should look something like this at the end of the day. Once you have completed the form, you've printed it out, and it's ready to take the appointment along with your supporting documentation, you can go to the appointment. Here is how to make that appointment. You're going to go to the Cita Previa website, go to this link up here, which I will have in the description down below. On the first page, you're given the option to choose the category. We're going to choose padrón. The trámite or servicio, we're going to choose the altas, bajas y cambio de domicilio en padrón. For padrón, it's recommended that you register with the office that's closest for you. After all, this process is a census. If you don't know which one it's going to be, you get all of these options. You can always just Google it. So let's go to Google Maps. In the case of first name, last name, his apartment is in Prosperidad. So this is where it is, right? We're gonna zoom out a little bit, and then we're gonna see Oficina de Atención. It doesn't look as if there are any around where first name, last name is. So we can choose any of the ones that are vaguely close. It looks like the closest one to his house is going to be this, the Fortaleza branch. So we're going to go back to our Cita Previa website. We're going to choose Fortaleza because that's the one that's closest to us. Oh, so what it just showed us is that all of the available appointments of recent have been taken. So in that case, if you really need the padrón, you're going to go and choose a different one. So in this case, we're just going to choose the office with the earliest date.
If this method still doesn't work for you and you're still trying to find an appointment, just know that new appointments are posted in the mornings when the OIC office is open. That's not really an insider tip, it's really what's being shown to us on this little yellow notice above our thing, but it is good to know. And it might help you find an appointment that's either a more convenient time or in a more convenient location for you.
So it looks like we're going to OIC Valverde. Let's actually look up where that is. It's not too much further away. It's a little bit further north in Fuencarral, but it's still fairly close to where first name, last name lives. So it's not too bad. And it looks like the only date available is October 4th, and the only time available is 1:10 p.m. It's going to show you the type of padrón appointment that you're doing, the location of the office, the type of appointment, and the date and time of the appointment. Here we're going to put our name. We're going to put our NIE, sex, our telephone number if you have a US one, remember the country code, our email, and any other notes that we have for the appointment. Then you're going to agree to the policy. And finally, for the confirmation, you have to revise your information and then click confirm.
If you've done everything successfully, you'll then see a confirmation page. It'll show all the information about your appointment as well as your personal information, and you'll also receive an email as well. You can also download a justificante for your cita, which you can use to present to your school to excuse your absence or just use at the appointment itself.
Make sure to hold on to that appointment confirmation because it usually contains important information that you'll need on the date of the appointment. Once you go to that appointment, you will receive a form that looks like this. It says Padrón Municipal de Habitantes Certificado de Inscripción. It'll show the district that you live in, your neighborhood, the section of the neighborhood that you live in as well, and also the number that is your inscription. It'll have all of your personal information and when you declared empadronamiento as well. You'll need to bring a copy of this to the TA appointment. If you want to hold on to this original copy, you can also use the QR code or the PIN number that they give you here to visit the website and download a digital version of this certificate, which is actually pretty cool.
I hope this video helped you to understand the empadronamiento process and how to become padrón. Hopefully made it a little bit easier. If you still have any questions, which they're warranted, this process is so complicated and confusing, feel free to ask them in the comments down below. I'll try to give informed answers with citations. Also, I'll put some additional resources in the description below for you to read and check out in your own time.
Our next video will go over collecting all the documents you need for your TA fingerprint appointment.